Susan? Or do you want to be anonymous? Do I just blow
Oh,
your
no, I'm
cover?
not going to be anonymous, Larry. Well, if you didn't hear my name, it's Susan, and I'm sure many of you would recognize my laugh before my name anyway. It is Susan Strumich. I am now the former manager of the Representative Workforce Program at SAHO. When I look at next steps, and trust me, this is very, very fresh for me considering I just left my employer on last Friday. So it's very fresh for me, but I am trying to look ahead. I cannot walk away from 19 years of my career, my passion, my identification. It's impossible for me to walk away from that. I think, may I make a suggestion to this group, and I am very aware of time, and those of you that know me also know that I'm very time conscious all the time. I think there's some very big questions that are looming that will point us in the right direction for next steps. I think as a citizen of Saskatchewan, which I am merely just that right now, trying my best not to be a stereotype, because I will not be one. Here's my big questions. We have put ourselves in this position. We have made ourselves indispensable. We are dispensable, and they have proven that at this time, and that concerns me to no end. We have lacked public policy on the issues of Aboriginal employment, wellness, education, our participation. We have a problem. That question needs to be asked. Quite simple, okay? The other issue being, I need to know what the position is from the governments of Saskatchewan. That is including my First Nations relatives, the Métis government structure of this province, the city. Everybody needs to tell me what their position is. I have a responsibility. I have a right to know. Never once has anybody told me what the position is. I can tell you with absolute certainty what the immigration, what that strategy is. I cannot tell you what the strategy is right now. Not for healthcare, but as a citizen of Saskatchewan, and I have been born and raised here my entire life. How do we get ourselves into those strategy talks? It concerns me when a mandate has been given to a ministry within the province and nobody has invited any of us, and there's a lot of us, a lot of history, a lot of experience. We need to be invited to those talks. We have to engage. And again, we need to know who's buying in and who's running this show. I need to know. I need to know the lay of the land. I need to know what the people and who the people I need to talk to. I have a daughter who is graduating next year from grade 12, and you're going to hear from her right away because she's my daughter. I have another one who's graduating grade 8 next year. These children are entering and preparing for university because I need them to. And quite simply, they're not just my daughters, they're yours as well. So we need to move together and again, and instill that fight. I don't know where it's going to come from, but I have not chosen to do this work since the early 90s because of the pay. I did not choose to do this work because it was going to make me friends. If anything, a very wise person told me a long time ago, Susan, you choose to do this, you'll probably end up with more enemies than friends. And in this room, I look around, I see a lot of people that I've known since I was a child. And I have great and garnered much, much respect for. So we need to collectively find out the right questions to ask and to who to ask those questions, and that will point us in the right direction because we need to move forward because we're not going away. I have proven through tough times I will not leave this province, and I'm not going anywhere. So get used to hearing my voice and my laugh.
My name is Doreen Bradshaw, and I've worked with the representative workforce over the years. And from my experience, I feel that when we look at our next steps, we have to look at a central nucleus or a central agency to actually work with the representative workforce. And the reason I say that is a strategy can stray so easily. So I'm just extending what Victoria said, that the importance is you need that central agency that keeps everybody on track going to that one destination. It's so easy to get off onto something else and then you stray away and then it becomes ad hoc. So the focus of a representative workforce strategy really needs central leadership and it keeps everybody moving together. And I think that was the power of the program that we delivered at that time. was to keep us all together and all moving forward together. That one strategy grew from the successes of those partnerships and learning from each other what you can do that makes it a better strategy. So I think that central nucleus still has to be there. Thank you.
I guess adding to that point before I recognize Rick, one of the things I noticed when I was reading all the literature about this was that there was a lot of confusion about the statistics. I think I mentioned that earlier, that there's, except for Statistics Canada, which looks at things every 5 years, there aren't really any good tracking mechanisms out there, so that if we're going to use those as benchmarks, who's going to do the tracking? Who's going to do the counting? There isn't even necessarily a good count, as I understand it now, about how many Aboriginal people are employed in the health sector. And without that sort of central leadership that you're talking about, I'm not sure where even the accountability happens, because who's doing the tracking? Did you want to address that?
Yes. Yes, it is important probably to know how many people are being hired and that sort of thing. But I don't think that's the end all. I don't think that's the important focus. I think the important focus is, what is the strategy doing? Is it changing policy? Is it changing direction? Is it reaching the communities, and is it making change in communities?
So it's more of a qualitative assessment?
It's more of a qualitative, and
Okay.
I think that's where the focus really is. Numbers are a game.
Yeah.
And in the case when you can have all the numbers you want, do they believe you?
Yeah. Good point.
It-
Okay, Rick,
So-
you're next.
My name is Rick Hesh. I want to agree with all of the former comments that have been made. The one just made about focus, I agree with as well. That is, focus is how one develops a social movement such as I would think we need to develop around this. But you know, I was in a meeting all morning with good people, and I was late showing up here because I was taking time to tell people where I was coming, because I've missed a profile on this issue, in my view, to the extent that it should be, as I've been spending time in this province over the past couple of months. So I wanted people to know what was going on this afternoon, and everybody was sympathetic. Everybody felt it was an important issue. But there was very little consciousness of it. And so I want to recommend that, given the excellent research I've heard presented this afternoon, given the lack of consciousness that exists around this issue at the moment and mobilization, that somehow we find the ways and means of putting together the case once again with fresh data, put that in historical context so that people know what I think is the case, which is that we're talking about, yes, the R word, and, or as Larry made clear in his slides, also the C word, and do that in a way at the same time that is contextualized so that, for example, other unions can be doing what it seems CUPE has done, some of, so that not only do we focus and not lose sight of the importance of the focus, but also we are in a position to develop alliances with other constituencies who also have perhaps a generally sympathetic approach to what we're about.